It was energy partner, Mr. Josh Yoder, and we've got a really interesting dynamic here because Mary Todd is joining us now. Both of these individuals have recent history joined the program. Both of these people bring a different perspective towards the fight, but the mutual grounds upon which these two patriotic Americans, constitutional Americans, are fighting on is simply put as a fight for freedom. And Josh, this is your second relocation course stop. In my view, it seems that Clay Clark has the most momentum, the most successful, the most productive movement towards this freedom fighting objective. Our standard. It's our standard. Freedom. Set it. What are your thoughts here? Josh? What is in regards to the U.S. Freedom Flyers organization that you have begun? Since you've begun it, what's the status update from your end as the president?
Then he started calling and saying,
tens of thousands continue to join, and it's largely passengers now.
It's like an underlying threat. And so then he said, if I don't call you every single week,
rail
call the
companies,
American
shipping,
Embassy,
trucking
something's
industry, lots of
happening.
people in the transportation sector.
So I was pretty naive. I homeschooled my kids. We lived a Pollyanna little Christian life, and I was like, "Gee, you're coming home." At this point, he had a ticket to come home. He had a job in the United States. We couldn't wait for him to get home. Quit his job. So on his last day of work, he was in his apartment and he was garroted, which means he was choked with a wire, hung on a door, and we got that call in June of 2012 that our son committed suicide. Now, because of what we knew, and because we knew our son very, very well,
very well said. So the reason that this discussion is taking place is because Mary Todd is an outstanding mother, American mother, by my standard. You produced some incredible human beings and brought them into this world. And if you have not had a chance to listen to the episode that I did with Mary, please go back into the archive. It's here. It's on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon Music. You can find it. Go back and listen to that. But Mary, you have a son. One of your four sons is currently employed as an airline pilot. Talk a little bit about that.
It was my second I homeschooled John Todd. I know how he writes. And later on, we had two linguistics from Montana, substantiated already knew. Not only was it impossible for my son to reflect late mathematics, that's how they do it. They look at his writing and the writing, but it was impossible to inherit. And all of a sudden, and so they had the mandates for vaccine. That was our first clue. And that my son John, and his body, he's very young to be able to defensive moves America his body. At the same time, he was given a date. He was second in the state run by November 24th. So he had two huge bumps.
Josh, you're also a captain, is that right?
So he headbutted. His hands
You're a first officer. What is the structure? What does that mean? I'm not
familiar
familiar with the ranking.
Under the wire.
Sure, so essentially
and the pathologist that examined the pictures of his body said he really hurt somebody. Frankly made me happy. So he fought for his life. He said there must have been a guy from behind choking him and somebody from the front that he was fighting.
It's essentially having command.
So we had that as evidence. But it wasn't until we got into my son's apartment and we started looking for clues. Police confiscated his laptops, his work laptop,
for John
his diary
to be appointed or
titled
captain, awarded captain.
Now think about
this
that.
is a prestigious, as an airline pilot yourself, course, Mary, your husband's
So
a
we
former
started
airline
looking
pilot.
for
This is a
clues, and I
prestigious
found this, what I thought was a Mac speaker.
a title to
In
hold.
his entertainment
Right,
center.
well, it's the goal.
And we took it home to the United States, and it ended up being an external hard drive that's wirelessly backed up. Everything, but it just takes time. There's nothing you can do like it doesn't that very day he backed up everything. It just put his time. So, and seniority level. That's the book that I've written called Hard Drive: A Family's
But now we've got,
because of that hard drive, we had
for instance,
a
firefighter,
forensic
right?
expert
Mary
examine
in
it.
our discussion
And he
earlier,
found that it
you
had
talked
been
about these
accessed after
firefighters.
my
These
son's
firefighters
death.
are, and
And
even
a file was opened
whatever other
that
other
had to do
service
with
areas,
Huawei,
military,
the largest
they're
telecommunications
facing a
company
deadline. Now, some of them
owned by the
putting
CCP, the
20
Chinese
years, 30
Communist
years.
Party.
40
This file
years,
that was
I think,
opened
was
showed us
an amount, a number,
between
quantity that
James
was given
Company
me
and
yesterday.
transferred illegal technology.
Your son
My
has
son was
done.
working on
He's just
to
bought a
Huawei,
house
the Chinese telecommunications
and facing this
company. So it
mandate.
unfolded all of it.
He said
It showed
he said what
everything
he's
that
now
happened.
sold his
Everything my
house.
son had said it happened universally to us was proof. Gorgeous house, hard drive. And we thought, and when we have this mandate evidence on his body, DNA evidence, even Chinese they extended that blood evidence on his on the strap. But the Singapore police decided I'm going to send the house because all the evidence of airline. And depending on that, anything suicide notes, house, the evidence. So he sold it in one day, actually, with several backup. We started fighting and made plenty of money on it too. So he did real well. Look at this. But I'm so proud of him. The year standing up for what's right had gotten nowhere. Had been an investigative reporter, started looking into it. And he went to Singapore with us. He stayed, got a lot of time with us. He examined everything, and he finally sold the story to the financial.
So he's
Times
taken the
magazine.
proceeds, or at least the
And
money that he's gotten from the house, and you're saying he's now living on that.
This magazine.
Is he living on that?
He still has his job all about the technology. So
But
all about
he's preparing in case.
Very well read. He's prepared scientifically not have a job.
Are you finding this happening
Everyone was calling us.
in the industry, Josh?
I had 11 movie producers
pilots?
calling us,
Go ahead.
48 hours, called us. They followed us for a whole year of life. They lived with us practically. Went to Singapore with us several times, went to Washington, D.C., just filmed us everywhere we went. And I thought, oh, our country now is going to do something. Our leaders now are going to do something. We met with everybody. We met with all the senators, congressmen, anybody that would meet with us. And it wasn't until we were sitting in Congressman Wolf's office, he's from Virginia, but we were in Washington, and he looked at us and he said, to my husband, my son, and I, you're doing the right thing, but you're not going to get anywhere. I know your son was murdered, and I was so shocked. I said, Congressman Wolf, we have all this proof. Why aren't we going to get anywhere? And he said, because Huawei, the Chinese telecommunication firm, owns offers on every corner of Washington. Not only that, they have bought out several of our elected officials. Now, Congressman Wolf has written a forward to my book, Hard Drive. Thank you so much. A much providing against free. I'm so happy to meet you. Warning Americans to know, to listen to us. Warning Americans about what happened to us. Warning Americans about the Chinese Communist Party.
Well, just something I'd really like to point out.
So when this happened, and we really got very little help. I mean, they sent the FBI to our house and made
FDA approved?
and tried to placate us. Senator Hawkins was a Democrat, and the third most powerful senator in the United States actually did try to help us, even though he's a Democrat. It's a nonpartisan issue. And he was very helpful, wanted to fly to Singapore with us. I called him on his cell phone almost every day. And until one day his legislative assistant called me and said, Mary, we can't do anything more for you. And I went, what? Why? She said, we've done everything we can. We're just unable to help anymore. And it was that afternoon that Max
Mary,
Baucus
you're
was,
nodding your head.
on the radio, I
regards
heard
to
he was
Nuremberg
offered
trial.
the
Do you have some
ambassadorship
comments
to
there?
China. Well, when you consider what happened to everything that we tried to do, we were shut down, and the Chinese Communist Party has so much power, forcing people to get anybody tried to get this against their shut down. Happening now, and yes, they need to be Joe Biden, our vice president, our big president, needs to be got a 20-page document, every official showing the evidence of my son's murder, showing the evidence on the hard drive. It's been showing everything many times. We never.
Who's that?
Greg Gianforte, great vice president. He's done a lot of good things for Montana. So from that point, I realized our government is doing bad things. And so I wrote this book. There's just a detail out there. Everything that was with the proof. And I named names. Comey just came out 2 days ago saying Biden invested all the names that we dealt with in this book. And I should be greatly 10 times supported them. But they can't sue me because I'm so bad things are happening. I named names, a lot of money to show what they've done.
There needs to be.
So from this time, I started speaking on national security and just warning people about the Chinese Communist Party, the One Belt, One Road initiative. People, if you don't know what that is, look it up. It's dangerous. The fact that they're infiltrating our universities.
Let me insert this real quick here. At this event, I don't know if either one of you are familiar with this, but this fellow Rusty that you read it.
Black Lives Matter.
At this event here, now General Michael Flynn is highly respected by many people. He's served the country faithfully.
That's the way they get our officials.
But he had on during his presentation here at this event a fellow named Peter Navarro, I think his name. He's a former Trump president.
They have a bot.
On this Skype video presentation, held maybe an hour and a half ago, Navarro is urging attendees here at this institution, in this building, attendees to receive the inoculation. I try not to refer to it as a vaccine because, like you're saying, it's not proof, it's not right, it's not a vaccine by definition. It's an injection or inoculation. He's urging folks with a lower immune system, a weaker immune system, to actually go out and get this inoculation. Now, he was booed. He was booed. This happened an hour and a half ago at this event here at Clay Park, Wrecking Floor in Dallas. He was booed profusely by this crowd, and in so much that Michael Flynn had someone defend Miss Navarro, who I understand is the regular contributor to the programs I can work with. Amen. You listen to him all the time. So if we align this, Mary, if we align this to Gianforte in your state, that's a great patriot by many means, but yet, hold on, wait a second, maybe he's not a great patriot. Okay. But saying, oh, wait a second, hold on, get the vaccination. And this type, Josh, this type of rebuttal is also seen on the Trump administration, Donald Trump. Because, hey, wait a second, here we got Donald Trump. Everybody says, oh, he's the greatest president. I've even said that he's the greatest president since JFK. But yet he's not taking a stand that Josh is taking and that you are taking in the public space against these injections, so-called vaccination. Is there something underlying here? Are people simply not bold enough, Josh, to come out against for financial incentive? Or how are you seeing this? How do you interpret this?
Do you know that they used to be the world power? It has only been in the last 200 years. They want it back. They will do anything to get it. And now, they don't care about killing people. They don't care about, they care about the power. This is the Chinese Communist Party, not the Chinese people. They're wonderful. But they're oppressed.
It's incredible.
The makers of the murder right now is genocide. Nobody talks about it. You look at Hunter Biden, you look at Joe Biden.
He's actually saying that it's destroying the immune system. Every shot that you get, you're further destroying your immune system. And in autopsies, the spike proteins are being injected in inoculation.
We have got to unite. We've got to fight. That's what I'm going to do. And I will also, for my constituents in Montana that don't have a voice, I know what it's like to not have a voice and to not be heard. I will take people seriously. I will listen to people. I will fight.
what? So how? Okay, so we've got an infiltration. We've got a Chinese infiltration. It sounds like they're controlling the legal structure of Dist, and it sounds through your son's contributions through technology. You're also controlling his technology on various levels.
And I believe it's time to start listening.
What's the angle to get
What's
China
happening?
out of
So
America?
so again, moving back to Gianforte, possibly or reportedly
Close
having
these offices.
bought shares in Pfizer in 2018. So
I'll be buying these technologies from you. What are your thoughts on that?
Josh has just inserted the Klaus Schwab. The Klaus Schwab is a very respected name economically in the global economic forum. But he's written a book named The Great Reset. Are these kind of financial roots and these kind of financial streams? Are these things that people need to start considering? Do you think, Mary, in their investigations?
Oh, I like how you said that, Mary. I like how you said that. Talk about that, because this is interesting. Because when he pulled the plug and that collapsed, I thought, oh, China's going to move in. So expand on that.
China is moving in, and Taiwan, they're taking over Taiwan. And not only did he flood, he gave them all of our equipment, he gave them everything, and we still have people there. He's handed it over to China on a single platter and made us more nuclear than we've ever been before. Much more powerful than we were in our freedom in 2011. So we get one jab, we get another jab.
So to get back to
So I think we need to get the president back. I'd like to see Trump back in office. A president that will.
So, Mary, we don't use the word bound. We don't have a authoritative figure that we would bow to, right? But perhaps the argument can be made that those aboard the Mayflower left that island because they were literally subjugated. You use that word, right? And bowing to. We don't have a monarchy in the United States. Now, the reason I'm mentioning that is this. You've used the word they. Well, how do listeners, what do they understand? What does that mean?
Right now, I think we as a nation here that we need to ask God to forgive us for allowing this to happen. Churches need to rise up and fight for our country, and we need to take this being used as a
How do you see this as you travel?
by the Chinese Communist Party,
How are you
by the deep state, by the Republicans that have been brought out. It depends on where I go. Even though there's plenty that say, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, or they are, he's dictating and breaking all kinds of rules to make us late things that are not here.
Executive orders.
Executive orders. Everything. You're right. He's breaking our Constitution.
He's kind of acting like there is a conspiracy.
Yeah, but he's not. Obviously, I never speak on anything like there. If somebody is behind him, people telling him what to do. I have George Soros and Bruce Clintons. They're taking over the internet. They're doing all these things. Back up. I just show poor man. I'll send you exactly where I get my information. I'll send you the books that I have read years and years and years. And so I now educate people. Doesn't really have to cognizant of what to do. They just told them what to do, and we are now being told what to do. I am asking to take it, and Josh is here. You're standing up and saying no, and I want to be one too. So I'm going to volunteer in your kids' classrooms.
Josh, in your work with the airline that you work for, it's a corporation. Have you caught on to any elements outside of the work that you're doing for the mandates? Likely caught on to any elements of corruption inside of higher executive levels of that organization, or other organizations within the industry?
She says American needs a revolution.
There are elements of corruption.
2018.
One thing what you have to look at
like
is
I told you, I started
given to the airlines
program because of the Zika virus. In my
the government.
she's telling me
To dig in
revolutionary.
about what requirements are.
Extreme.
That's pretty extreme. Yeah, that's pretty extreme.
And I've been given the tip.
This is what's
taking into this employer request exception
within the past
to see
7
that
months.
if vaccine
I've had a Jewish lawyer,
contracts that came with the finances that came with the COVID money.
America needs a
And then
second.
speaking to greater levels of
And now
corruption,
former
not just
CIA
the company, but the unions.
operative
So
Peter
the
Pry,
union has the
PRY,
duty of fair representation.
consultant
of
in
all
DC
members.
for
And I can
EPS,
tell you that they are widely
electronic
they have become autonomous
He
political
is in.
organizations. They have no interest
America
in
needs that change.
representing
This
members.
is a revolution.
They have their own little social.
I'm not suggesting
Just
anything
recently at American Airlines,
physical
there
or
was
violent.
a
I'm not
union
suggesting
member there that was
But you're
manipulating
saying
like
clearly
this paid time off
that Americans need to become
to get paid and then go on
uncomfortable.
his days off and pick
Stop
up
being
lots of additional
comfortable.
time, making some
Something is happening to your country. It is being disturbed.
other
And in order
members
for
of the
a
league. So the
revolution
manipulation
or
of the system,
change to take place.
while he was also not
Or
represented.
Revival's a good word.
Ferguson, the
Thank-
president of,
That's exactly what
APA, which is the
listeners
pilots
need to do. Is
at
to
American
become
Airlines
uncomfortable.
has made horrible comments.
Are there any
publicly meetings,
people
regarding
that you can
pilots,
identify
believes that everyone
that
should be
you've seen that
vaccinated.
change? You've been able to make that change in them, and you saying, "Wow, they're putting themselves
That's
out."
not fair representation.
You clearly are.
They are highly corrupt.
You clearly are. You raised
To be
what seemed to be a wonderful family.
and we need to
making
replace
great
them with
contributions
good
to
people,
society.
like people from U.S. freedom flyers.
So as a mother,
who are
you've been
taking a
highly
stand
successful.
fighting for
Now you're saying, okay, now I'm going to not only defend my family, I'm going
That
to
could have been
defend
part of the government.
my state in my country. Now it's a country.
That could be.
Tell listeners, are there any examples of anybody else that you've been able to affect that have now
I
adapted
had not
your
thought of that.
your
very
change,
interesting
your
conversation
passion?
with Senator Bob
Anybody
Wolf
sticking
here
out
in
your
Texas.
This Wolf fellow, the governor. Anybody like
I
that?
was asking
Whoever it
has
doesn't
made
matter.
aware that specifically in Texas, and it's not just
Congressman
Texas,
Wolf
it's all across the
was
states.
already a patriot.
Okay.
He marches with Billy Graham on D.C. He was a good guy. He just told us the truth.
Right,
And
okay.
he didn't
So
have
in
power
those
to
contracts,
overcome the
it's
evil.
actually
But
written
he's
that if they accept
retired now, but still
they are
praying for our
agreeing to
country, still
vaccine
marching
mandates.
for our
And
country,
it was
still
a
the
lobbyist
greatest,
that made
one
me
of the
first
greatest
aware of this.
leaders we've had. He is
So when I met with
amazing.
Senator,
But
Senator
on a
Bob
local
here
level,
a few days
so
ago, he confirmed,
on a
said, yes,
local
that is in
level,
fact
I'm seeing
correct.
people
And
who
he's
flies.
fighting
I have a
he's
son
fighting that here
who
in
flies for
Texas.
American
And,
Airlines.
I
So
live
he's
in
my
North
second
Carolina,
one.
and I'm fighting
Shane,
here
the one in heaven, Shane Truman Todd.
two citizen
In
moms and
heaven,
babies.
who's my firstborn
There's
son.
a lot of people that are
John
aware of this. The
Todd,
general
my
public
second
doesn't
son,
realize
flies for American.
when
He
these
just got
municipalities
awarded
take
captain, which is a big
they
deal
are
at his
agreeing
age.
to mandated vaccines.
He will not take the jab.
And now it's
So,
become a contract.
and he will not lie.
Which is
He's
very
been offered, and he tried
The only way that we stop this is stand up as
exemption. He
individuals,
wouldn't take it, so
saying
he
not
sold
just
his
no,
house.
hell no.
Yeah, and
Get
he,
rid of this politics.
they
Get rid of
keep
everybody.
postponing the
Just
date. It was November 24th. Now it's later. So he
Josh,
still
that
has a
sounds
job
like
and
manipulation,
doesn't know me.
and
I'm so
it
proud of
almost
him. He sold
sounds
his house on
like an
the lake.
antitrust. I don't know law, but it sounds like it
Gorgeous
might be an
house on the lake.
antitrust
He's
situation
not
where
gonna
you're
be
almost manipulating and monopolizing.
And I'm not going to have to be
You're
dependent
monopolizing
on his paycheck. I'm going to rise
contract.
up and I'm going to fight this. And I'm so proud of him. So I see that kind of thing happening.
Yeah.
My other sons are fighting. They're doing their own thing. Then in people in our church,
Mary,
are
you've
rising
got
up and doing things they've
you've got a
never done
husband,
before. Going to
a
school.
wonderful man that is a former airline pilot.
Building a little coalition.
He's standing right next to us, and I simply
And I
want to
have a gal
introduce
that's
him
working
into
for me
the
right now.
conversations.
She's
I'd
my
like to get
I
his
call her my assistant.
his
Really,
perspective
she's
as well.
awesome.
Rick,
She's awesome.
you can stay right there. He can the mic will pick it up here. Rick, do you have any comments in regards
And
to
she's amazing.
what your child is facing here, John? Do you have any
And
comments
so
in regards to
I see
this?
God just raising up people constantly.
Absolutely.
Their hearts are being changed, their minds are being changed. I think people are
There's
coming
no
to know
way
God through this because we are so needy right now.
should be subject
And the thing about being addicted to comfort, we have been so addicted to comfort. We want cheap Chinese
protecting
stuff.
all.
We want
It's
to
not
be on
they-
our
the
iPhones. We
company
want to
should
be
be
on our
protecting
cell. We don't
us.
want to be bothered
They
by
don't have the
anything.
right
Just let me live my cushy little life. That's
Something
over now.
Uh,
If we keep
they
on
got
that
to stand
road,
up.
we'll
They
lose
got
our
to
country.
stand up.
We're done with that.
Because not only
It's
is
time
this
to rise up and fight
to
and
fight
do the right thing for our country and for God.
You know what? I would like to point out something else.
Mary,
So, per federal
I
aviation
liked
regulations, as you're well
how
aware,
you had mentioned
61
the vaccine,
District 3,
and I want listeners
states that essentially it just
hear your
provides
view,
responsibility
how you feel
not to put
about
something in their body
these
with no
injections.
side
What do you
effects
think's
that
going
could
on?
affect the safety of the operation.
very good.
Well, what we
First of all, I don't
Is this
know.
a bio
Just,
weapon? The Chinese? Is this maybe
I've been told I'm not supposed to say that when I speak,
And
but
right in
Who
there
told
it
you that?
says the side effects of this
somebody
vaccine
that
are
oversees
blood clots,
watches me and
stroke,
says it's
pericarditis,
probably hurt people that have
sudden
gotten
death,
vaccines.
cardiac arrest.
I will say on your show,
How does
yes,
a
it's
pilot
bioweapon. I think it's
follow these federal aviation
and I think
regulations and put this in their
it is,
body? I believe
but
they're all
That's an accident.
I'll also say this, and I would never say this. because
Rick,
I'm
you
thinking
have
how
something
it
there?
related to
No, I'm
abortion.
just saying,
I'm
he's
pro-choice
absolutely right.
when
I
it
mean,
comes to the
you're probably
vaccine.
aware that
If
there's
the
a lieutenant
bioweapon
colonel
and the
in
jab.
Little
If
Rock,
somebody
Arkansas,
really wants to
actually
get it,
grounded.
it's their body, it's their choice.
They're
Now with abortion,
Correct. That's
all
correct,
their
yes.
pilots, and that was
I'm not
absolutely the correct thing to do.
in fact, I
And
went
Dr.
to
Aaron-
jail for
Dr. Aaron
rape
Williams, who's standing right behind you, is actually connected to
in
this
1989.
this
So
individual.
this is
He's
another
busy
thing. I have skin in
here
the
to
game.
talk
I have my son in heaven, but I've also
at this
served
time.
time.
But
for
Dr. Williams
trespassing,
actually here. Look,
rape,
you know,
singing for
look, this is Doctor. Please,
I got a 30-day
Rick,
jail sentence.
you've got.
When I tell
You were just
people-
talking about you were just talking about a lieutenant colonel. Aaron,
And I
you were just talking about a lieutenant colonel. What's the name of this a female, right? The grounded. Hold on. Who is this person? What did you say, Todd?
Teresa Long.
Civil brand.
Teresa Long, who spoke at Senator Ron Johnson's
said civil brand
vaccine
is
like
fine.
injury
Civil brand.
committee
Yeah,
back
and
at
I-
hearing back in November.
It was a God story.
early
It was,
November
I had a
at
great
Capitol.
time. I ended
Absolutely,
up
she had to
on
ground 3 out of 3 pilots in
And
one
so-
morning. I believe 2 for pericarditis.
How do we get
not
on this
carditis.
subject? Anyway,
And
Well,
also
you were
one
talking
for
about
brain
vaccines, and
fog,
there you
But-
which is a
pro-choice.
big deal when it comes to pilots. As we all
I'm
might
pro-choice
simply
for
imagine, you don't have to be a doctor to
You know,
realize
I'm not
that.
gonna
So,
judge somebody
yes,
for getting
you
a
know,
vaccine.
absolute
I certainly
brave warrior, and she came out as a
looked at
whistleblower,
them
and
showed them
you know,
that
hopefully.
this is
she'll be out
dangerous
more
stuff.
in the
This is
future
what's in it.
and being
Please
able to
look
help in
into
this
it.
fight
If
because
anybody's
she's an absolute
thinking
role
about
model.
getting it, look into
Rick,
the
thanks for
ingredients.
bringing that up,
Look into
and
what's
Dr. Aaron,
happening.
thanks.
There's a
Dr. Aaron,
fireman
thank you.
here that I don't know if you've met him yet. You should
Okay,
interview him,
so
but he runs
we've
500
got
firefighters
basically,
standing up against
we-
vaccinations.
we-
He sees people
And this is okay. Let me thread this in,
every day.
Harry. Let me thread this in. You just
Paramedics
you just
say that
had
there's like 20, 30
conversation
people every day that are
with
responding in a
and
negative
Josh.
way to
You're
these
aware of this person.
vaccines.
You know this
And so
person.
he's seeing
He
it
served his
firsthand.
country faithfully
That's
27
what's
years.
happening all over the place.
U.S. Army
So
walked
I
away from
say
his
it
promotion
is-
to colonel. You had a great conversation
it's a
with
consumer
Gary
issue.
Cobb recently.
If we've been
Tell
through
listeners
this,
briefly about
it's against
how
our
you think that
Constitution.
conversation went.
It's against the Nuremberg Code.
Yeah.
We should not. I think it started out slow. At all, I think have to stop it.
Yeah, in fact, Wendy Williams, who might be who you're talking about, the wife of this firefighter, she's a former Marine. Right. Says simply not American.
So,
It's unconstitutional. Okay, so I'm going to throw something at you. Let's see how you react. And, you know, we'll wind it down. We'll take too much more time. Anthony Sabatini's a House representative, a Florida State representative in Florida. I don't know if you heard the name. He's a 33-year-old guy, real smart, real bright. And he joined my show about 7 weeks ago, and I said, this is Anthony, what do you think about the federalism? He says, well, I think it's unconstitutional. It needs to be repealed.
You need to answer
So there is
those
a
Once you pass that,
thing
you'll go to the
that
next phase. And then you.
younger
And it
politicians, I
got
suppose,
more positive,
is
more
younger than I
positive,
am.
and now
I'm not a
we're planning
politician,
to
but
meet in
there's a
in
thing of
January. So it
questioning
went really well.
the banking system.
Fantastic.
In the United
The
States.
reason I mention that is because he's a retired Black Hawk
In
helicopter
China,
pilot. So the emphasis here,
after
obviously,
World War
is
II,
the airline
and
community.
you had
The airline
mentioned
community
that
is being attacked.
not the Chinese people.
And
It's
why do you see
party
the airline community
is governing these people.
It's not these.
Why is it the airline people? I mean, you've had Biden. So what I'm going to say to you,
Wants to
and
implement
ask you,
different types of vaccine
is
passports. I don't know if he said that or not, but
same year
he wants to restrict interstate travel. Hasn't he said something like that? Why isn't the airline community, the government adopting a central banking system?
Well, I
Saying
believe that, yes. So
which made him
if you look back at
subservient
Richie Torres in
to the banking settlement, which also makes him subservient
they're
to
going to lock passengers down and run vaccinated, where you can
Out
even
of
fly
box.
to the U.S. airport. This doesn't apply to
Is it
just commercial
possible,
air travel. This applies to any
coupling
FAA
that with
flight.
fact
That's on the floor of
that
the House
this
right now.
communist Marxist
And you know,
regime
this is just
through China has made its way on many levels for racial
employees
in our culture,
issue.
right through the
I
Chinese,
think
and also
one is
their
because of
law.
the federal
It's a
contract
problem
is
because
attending many of the federal contract.
between this banking
When you
system out
actually
of Europe,
look at the financial
and what the Chinese were forced to adapt,
money's only about
including
3% of their revenue.
this
So you
communist
imagine a company like, let's say,
type of
American
government, which is not
Airlines,
Chinese,
airline in the world,
right? This is not
stand
even
up
Russian.
against the U.S. government.
Oh, what we
and
know,
say,
at least
we're
what
not
we're
going
told,
to mandate this.
this is coming from Karl Marx in Germany,
First
right?
of all,
And
they
Karl
would
Marx was kicked out of Germany by
3%
Bismarck
in market share
because of
just
this
for taking this stand. They would make
centralized
and
form
they
of
would also
government.
be setting a good example.
Is it possible there that listeners
You know, helping to push
could be
back.
tying together the Chinese economics with this kind of communist adoption of communism?
We don't know
and
what's in those
linking
contracts.
it back to Europe. Is that a
I
possibility?
can't prove this, but I have a lot of suspicion
I don't
that,
know
that COVID-19.
that is impossible. Are you saying that the Chinese Communist Party is
So
affected?
almost these, you're saying these airline companies, because they've received these bailout
I'm not
money,
sure what you're at.
have they become a quasi federally
Possibly
run
possibly they have been
organization? They're almost even coerced
It's beginning to look that
to
way.
adopt
Like they're not
these
federally
types
run, they're
of,
not nationalized
policy.
per se.
Well, if you look
However,
into the history
their
of the
actions
Chinese
would
Communist Party,
suggest
you'll
that
find
there
that
is
they
a level
haven't
of
been.
nationalization.
This is who they
There's-
are.
There's
And
federal,
I do think
they're
they've
going
been
along with the
influenced,
federal agenda. And that's
obviously,
what
by
they're
by contract. Yeah, they're obligated.
They have
if in fact the inoculation program was written into the contract for the funds that they received.
they want to run the
And you're saying that you can clarify that this is happening.
is something
No, I
that
cannot
is-
clarify this.
Yeah.
This is suspicion.
From the very
When
beginning,
we're going
it's
after
not in
FOIA
the paper
requests,
money,
we do
not
know
in
when the contracts were
There's
last
so much
negotiated.
corruption.
You know that.
Preserved
It's fairly
of
recent.
what's
So now the
happening.
question is what was in those contracts?
They're doing to us. What trying to get us into the system.
Who's that?
I just said it's in the city.
They
Okay, hold
are
on, Rick.
Christian. So
Go ahead,
I
pick it
believe
up.
the
Just mentioned it's in the
state,
city
people,
contract.
What's that?
Soros,
They are mandated.
Soros, the
So
Chinese
it would be,
Communist
it
Party,
would stand to
and
reason
getting
to
us
do
into
the same.
Right.
one world
Okay, so
government.
hold on. This is a great. Here's a great point, right? Go ahead, Josh.
It's used
Yes, that's correct.
all
So
of
we know
this
for sure that they're doing this with municipal money that's coming in from COVID-19 funds in the states. We do know that there are vaccine mandates in those contracts. So
it's all biblical.
as a reasonable
Look at the
person,
Bible.
Sure. Yeah,
you
right.
could assume
One world
that this is
government
possibly
happens
happening
when Jesus
Bible
comes back.
But it's also practical because
It's
it's
speculation.
written on the back of the
but it
dollar
makes
bill,
sense.
adopted by FDR. So that's something you're going to start digging on. In Latin, not Chinese and Latin.
Correct.
It's written right now. It's possible.
Right.
Mary, you're
I'm so
you're
happy.
enjoying this. You're enjoying
I'm
this.
so happy.
Mary, what are
This
some
might be brought up in the
yeah? What are some final
meetings. I'm sorry, Scotland's meetings.
So what I want is
What incredible work you're doing.
what incredible
You are doing.
Thank you. Thank you. What I want
What a
listeners
look at how proud your husband is.
he's so great.
It's like,
He's so
look at the
great.
grin.
Well, I'm very big into
Stockholm syndrome.
He can talk to you. You
Is
should
what I
do that.
think. You know what Stockholm syndrome is? Yeah. Stockholm syndrome.
And
Well-
we're in Dallas, where
Look, the greatest. What's happening now?
residents lost his life.
What you're doing, what
quite
we're all
likely
doing
because of his
Yes.
knowledge and understanding
Yes.
of
Yes.
the corruption industry. Give listeners a little bit of.
So my last one
I mean,
would be
you've simply
that
spoken out against
the
these
theme of my
mandates
son's
relatively
funeral
recently.
was we live
It's
to
just been a few
die,
months, John.
not to die.
Yet now
That
your
means
organization is,
if
I
they're
mean, it was
living
international
the
last time we
eternal
spoke
perspective,
in
not
San
to
Antonio.
die, this
And have
time
you
is
seen that
really
growth
short
continue?
time on earth.
Yeah, the growth is
But everything
continuing,
we
and
do
it's
is for the
as we
good
do more conferences, as we do more media,
glorifying
and the
God,
passengers become
helping
aware
each
that
other, doing the
we as
right
employees,
thing.
we're the canary in the coal mine.
If we
What
live
they're
for
doing
just
to
this
your
God,
crew
for our
right
own
now, they have
company, our
every
own
intention of doing to
selfishness,
passengers. As a matter of fact, there are certain airlines out there that if you book a ticket and you
not
need to find
for others.
there's already provision in there.
It's
They're
not
already
eternal.
discussing
And so I want to live
vaccine
very deeply. I
passports
want
and
to
different
live
forms of
a
control
life that
along being
reflects
vaccinated and
something
flying.
good
Something for
forever.
people to dig into and
And
really take
that's
a look
why
at.
my
Believe me,
son,
it's coming
he
if we
did
don't
it.
stop it.
Is
This
he-
is why we need passengers
he
to stand
did
behind us and
the
donate at
crime.
U.S. Freedom
He
Flyers
died in America.
to donate to our lawsuits
I
because
want people to
if we stop it, when we stop it on the employee level, we're also stopping it on the passenger level. Because if they get past us, you're next, and then it's going to be very difficult to stop. Because if they can mandate it for us, they can mandate it for you. Everybody at U.S. Freedom Flyers is 100% volunteer. I don't make a dime. Nobody in this
Democrat or
organization makes a
Republican?
dime. We're all doing this in our free time.
Bring back
We've
the
been working
greatest
around the
country
clock.
that
For about 8
ever
weeks.
created
It was
on the face of the
20-hour
earth.
days.
We don't fight
Very,
now,
very busy. But that's how we're gaining traction. Because people are pouring their heart and soul
Ladies and
into
gentlemen,
this
Mary Todd.
to stop this.
Thank you, Mary.
Can I tell you my website?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So I'm running against some.
Not that you need that, but
I will read it right out. I'm running against who some people would call Rhino Zinke, Ryan Zinke, who has a lot of money. Living upstate with me. So I need help.
Is she a Democrat?
He's a Republican. Yeah. So we have to run off. I'm running off. You have to. Sergeant going to be primary and breaking our regulations and kick you off the airplane. You'll never be able to fly again. I mean, I've got to be times of flying. So we don't. My website, if anybody would like to help with our you're flying to Mary Todd, you're for the word for MT.com. MT stands for Montana, but it also stands for Mary Todd. So it's very clever. So Mary Todd for MT.com
We've seen
is
some
our
really
website. And then
totalitarian
if you want to
behavior.
email me, it's
From
Mary at Mary Todd
Wellington as towards passengers. I hear the stories all the time in this
Thank you, Mary.
conference.
Thank you so
Again,
much.
I must have had 100 people come up to me and
Appreciate
complain
it.
about how
Look
brutally
fun.
they've
I
been
couldn't
treated
hear
when
all
they're
Well,
going
he's
to
fun.
eat, drink,
He's
and
fun
play.
just
They don't
looking
wear
at
a
him.
mask. This is just ridiculous. Like masks have been proven not to work.
Yeah.
There's 100 studies out there that show what a complete bunch of nonsense masks are. And once again, I'll point to the 2020 study that the airlines paid for. They paid millions of dollars to Harvard University for a peer-reviewed study that said that your chances of contracting COVID on an aircraft are 0.003% due to the HEPA filtration systems and the constant air circulation. And this was during 2020 when people weren't flying; they were trying to get passengers back. So they said, "Hey, listen, aircraft is the safest place to be." And they were correct because there's been no COVID breakout that has been linked to air travel. And now suddenly that we're in 2021, we're no longer safe, and we all need this inoculation.
And
This
we
is
all have to wear
manipulation.
masks.
This is manipulation, corruption. It's all about control. It's evil and it needs to be stopped.
Can you give me an idea of how many candidates for public office are supporting you?
We're still working on that. I've been so busy with just the organization as a whole and promoting it like we're doing here. I don't really have time to get involved and talk to a lot of candidates. Certainly, Senator Bob Hall here in Texas, he's amazing. He's really standing up and fighting. And I had multiple conversations over the past few days with him. And he has every intention of bringing the heat to both American Airlines and Southwest. They're both here in Texas, and he's really upset about what they're doing.
Josh, thank you very much. Mary, thank you, and Rick, appreciate your time. Look, we're going to go roundtable close out. Rick, we're going to start with you. I've invited you into the discussion. What are some final words you have? Hold on. Josh, go back 5 years ago. You're flying aircrafts. I'm sure you felt very comfortable. I don't know if you did or not, but you were just doing your job. And did you ever see yourself in this position that you're currently in right now?
Well, I certainly saw totalitarianism, creeping into our country. I did not anticipate it in the current form that we're seeing it, specifically in the airline industry.
I guess one thing I would say, we are actually fighting for the heart and soul of our country. We need to stand up now before it's too late. One image that comes to my mind is in the movie Braveheart, when he comes to his end and he shouts out in his dying gasp, freedom. And that's where we all need to be. We all need to stand up. And there's going to be a cost to it. But if we don't stop it now, we're going to live with it forever.
Mary, you're a mother. You never saw yourself in this position of running for a political office.
Actually, since the death of my son Shane in 2012, I have seen myself in positions I never dreamed of. in situations, meeting with people at the highest level. Nothing impresses me anymore. Nobody intimidates me anymore. I don't care who you are. I want you to be honest. I want you to not be able to be bought. I want you to fight for our country, and I want you to do what's right. And I call it living for the line, not the dot. The line is eternity, and the dot is just now. And if we don't have an eternal perspective where we help people and we're honest and we do the right thing, then we're in big trouble. We need to love this country, and we need to outweigh the ones that hate the country. We need to win.
And Mary, this is and I don't know if I've mentioned this to you or not, Josh, but year and a half ago, retired Brigadier General joined my show, Robert Spalding, U.S. Air Force, and he said that the United States has been infiltrated by a stealth enemy. Okay, so this is over a year and a half ago. He also is pointing fingers at the Chinese, as you are, Mary. But are we able, a year and a half later, and I don't know if you're familiar with this name or not, Robert Spalding, are we able to identify what this enemy might be? What would you say to that question, Josh? A stealth enemy, is the cloak being unveiled here? Are you able to identify an enemy here, Josh?
You're absolutely correct. We have been invaded, and there's a lot of different ideas as to who these people are and where they've come from. Ian, you and I have had conversations in the past about the Jesuits, and I think
you're speaking of religious order. So now you're saying there's possibly a religious power that's been prevalent throughout multiple societies and cultures and countries.
Yes, that has gone back, many, many years.
Whereas the founding of this country is based off of the Pilgrims on the Mayflower, which left, and I brought them up in regards to the monarchy, had left that system that was encroaching upon their religious expression of freedom.
Correct, and this country was infiltrated by them even back then, but not to the levels that we currently see in government. When you truly start to research and understand the Jesuit order, you will understand that most of our entire government has been infiltrated. So I think that's a very large part of the problem. It's not the entirety of it, but it's something.
So a theological issue, rather than a theoretical issue, it's a theological perspective that you're exhorting listeners to consider a perspective.
Absolutely, it certainly warrants some research.
Are there any examples you want to bring to the forefront, Josh, just to get your mind to support your claim?
Sure. As we discussed the other evening, you look at certain universities that are actually like Jesuit universities. And you look at the people that are coming out of these universities and the positions that they hold in government. And then you also look at at what they're doing at the border. We previously discussed, they're opening the border with a predominantly Catholic nation, right? That we know has been, and I'm not speaking out against Catholics whatsoever. The Jesuit order is its own thing. It's essentially like a military arm. But there's a lot of speculation that opening up the border is designed to flood the country and to gain full control.
You're mentioning Catholicism. And I believe it's a Latin, right? It's a Latin-based word. I don't know where it derives from prior to Latin, but this means universal, right? That's what that word means. And I was speaking yesterday with Mike Miller and someone else outside of Mike Miller, but they were reconfirming something that I already been attuned to, that the Catholic charities that you just mentioned, I think you just mentioned that, or you mentioned a predominantly Catholic country. Catholic charities are fostering, clothing, sheltering, financing this illegal movement in McAllen and other locations along the border. Which I look at, Josh, and say, well, wait a second, I'm an American. I lock my door at night. And I certainly don't want, if I don't lock my door, I don't want anybody coming inside without my authority. How would anything be different along the border of the country? I consider the country my home. So here now we've got a charity organization that's saying, well, I'm not going to respect your home. and I'm actually going to support and encourage in that sense that, hey, I'll shelter you, I'll clean you, and I'll financially support you to go continue illegally an illegal presence inside of someone else's home.
It's unconscionable. It's
And I won't
absolutely
even make you wear a mask or get vaccinated to come on in.
Oh, there's no medical exams either,
No,
are there? So we
no,
don't actually know what they
no.
have. So we're a threat. We're a threat, but they're not a threat.
Right.
This is such a double standard. This is not about your health. This is about the takeover of our country. This is about communism being ushered into a free nation.
Okay, hold on. Now, you just said it, Josh. You just said it because, remember, I had inserted Robert Spalding, Brigadier General, retired, PhD, by the way, Josh. Okay, you're familiar with that. PhD. One of your sons, I don't know, you have 4, one was certainly a PhD. He said, over a year and a half ago, the United States has been invaded by a stealth enemy. But now have you just identified that enemy, Josh?
It's ultimately communism.
Yeah.
That's the goal. This is why the erosion of the borders. A country without borders is no country at all. This is about globalism, the New World Order, and world domination under one government.
Where do you get this? Where do you get this idea of a new world order, Josh? Where does this come from?
Well, there's plenty of people who like to speak about it. Klaus Schwab being one of them. Talks about centralized government.
And there's a book called the Bible that talks about it.
Correct.
Okay, and then and listeners can simply perhaps watch it. They can reach into their pocket and pull out a bill, right, Rick? I know you. And it says it right there in Latin, right? We mentioned it. This is Norvis Ordo Seclorum. So this is something FDR adapted back in the 1930s. Is that what we're seeing here in 2021?
Yeah,
Josh is showing. Yeah,
that's correct. This is something let's look back at like the U.S. Federal Reserve. You and I have had this conversation so many times. This all plays a part into what we're talking about.
But Josh, the Federal Reserve is a federal institution.
No, it's not.
A private bank.
It's a private bank.
Private bank.
Hunks of it.
Yeah. It's a private.
It's a private bank.
It's a private bank.
We don't get the profits. Profits go directly to the private banks.
This is global banking. Global banking that's being run mostly out of London, the city of London.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You said something. You said something last night, Josh, or 2 nights ago. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't recall at the moment.
Okay, and you said we, speaking on behalf of. You following me now? No. Are you following me now? You said we, speaking on behalf of we the people. You said we, and that means what Washington. These people were writing back in 1775, 76.
We never ultimately won the war.
Rick, did you just catch what he just said? Josh Yoder, repeat that.
We never actually won the Revolutionary War. We appeared to win.
What do you mean by that?
Our banking system is still controlled by the city of London.
I disagree with you. The bankers of London, meaning the Rothschilds, and I totally agree with that. Are you familiar with the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Josh, you are too? Yeah.
So, basically, the Federal Reserve, and we all are living in a system is based on fiat. It's not backed.
Fractional reserve banking.
Fractional, but it's done by decree. Fiat. It's not backed.
No gold standard.
The bill you were talking about looking at, there's nothing that backs it. Whereas prior to 1913, it actually had backing. There was gold. It was worth. It used to be that a dollar was quoted as being as good as gold, and it was backed by gold. It's not backed by gold now, and it hasn't been since. Nixon took us off exchange for gold in 1971. I mean, this is a long discussion. I didn't mean to sidetrack you, but it's.
The point is, it's all intertwined together. Communism is the enemy. Chinese Communist Party, they are into communism, Marxism. All of it is intertwined. Everything we're experiencing, Black Lives Matter, critical race theory, what they're teaching our children in school, this whole bow down to the masks, to the jabs, to being subservient to the government is all preparing us for exactly what Josh is talking about, and that is communist. And it never has worked. There's never been a country it has worked in.
Mary, how do you parallel? Josh, you can step in here. How do you parallel communism with what Klaus Schwab is talking about for what Josh has mentioned in regards to a global economy? How do you parallel the two? Mary, you answer please, and then Josh, you go. Mary, how do you parallel that?
I don't know. I don't understand what you're asking.
How do you help listeners connect how those two are working together?
Well, when you can,
are they working together in your view?
Everything is working towards that end goal. So I don't know how to parallel just two things. You parallel everything, and you realize, the Chinese Communist Party has a 100-year plan to take over the world. So they're the ones benefiting from all of this. The Jesuits could be part of it too. That's not a component I've thought about or know much about. I studied the Chinese Communist Party, so that's what I speak on with some authority, and realize that none of this is happening by happenstance. The average American,
design.
It's by grand design. They don't know about the One Belt, One Road. They don't know about the taking over of our universities, of our internet systems, this whole thing with the viruses. What they're doing to our country is destroying it. So communism can then come in, and we're going to owe the government everything. They're going to own our houses. They're going to own. Yep.
And I have something to say regarding that. Klaus Schwab himself has said that you will own nothing and be happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is about the government owning every aspect
But
of
Josh,
your life.
he's not Chinese.
He's not Chinese. It's not just the Chinese.
Okay.
This is a global system. Yes, the Chinese Communist Party is an absolute, very real and current threat, for sure. But I think even with all these outside threats, currently one of the largest threats to our country is our own government, who is selling out to them. We can protect against this. It's them being complicit. That is the largest threat that we currently have.
And that's what Abraham Lincoln said, that our biggest threat is within this country, that if we don't fight, if we don't keep our country, we'll destroy ourselves. And that's coming true.
Josh, you've linked. You've said we've never won the war. You said the Great Britain. Thank you for joining us. How are you? How are you? It's all right. You just said, Josh. You've just said that we've never won the war. What do you mean by that? What are you talking about? What does that mean? I mean, come on, this is almost 250 years ago.
That's correct. We did win it on the surface, but we've never fully had control of our financial systems. We've always been.
What do you mean? I mean, I can walk down to the store and purchase, if I wear a mask or if I'm vaccinated now, maybe, but I can purchase a Coca-Cola. What do you mean I'm not in control?
You have the illusion of being in control. You only have as much control as they're allowing you to have.
So describe this again for listeners. How did the United States not win the war? Well, hold on. We are speaking English, right? So we're still kind of subservient to that linguistic order, but talk about this. Describe this for listeners again.
Okay, so we're talking about where the finances have always been controlled. Look at where I would tell them to do their research. Look at who funded.
Oh, yeah.
Look at who funded like the Revolutionary War.
And a lot of wars.
A lot of wars, right? There's been a lot of foreign money coming in, and it's been intertwined in our banking system. And that's where the ultimate control comes from. He who controls the money controls the world. So do your research and figure out who controls the money, and then you'll find out who's actually in control.
But Josh, Klaus Schwab's not even British.
He's not British. Like I said, this is a global system. Much of
So
this
where's
is
it coming
actually-
from?
Much of it
Where's
is
it coming from, Josh? It's not American. We've been invaded by a stealth enemy. It's communist. Where's this
we're
coming
talking
from? In
about
your
a
view, in your view, where's this coming from, Josh?
the current issue. I think what we're talking about communism. I think that's a bit of a different conversation. That I believe is originating from the Chinese Communist Party largely, and the infiltration that has happened in this country. That's where that's coming from, and it's our complicit politicians who are signing on to it. But most people don't know is we have, I believe, over 60 socialists in Congress, self-proclaimed socialists. So people need to understand this.
But on top of that, we have those that have been bought out by the Chinese Communist Party, either through things like Epstein Island, which is all connected.
Blackmail.
Blackmail they've used. They tried it on my son, and it didn't work because he wouldn't go along. Money and power. And so these the Chinese Communist Party get people into office because they give them deep money. They buy out real estate. They're buying out our farms. They're buying out our ports. They're buying out everything, and our universities.
Your son is a true patriot because he stood up to blackmail, and he paid the ultimate sacrifice. And that's why these politicians are caving. It's because they are weak.
Right.
Your son was a true patriot. These politicians, they're slime. They're trash. And they're giving into the blackmail, and they're going along with the will of the Chinese Communist Party,
That's
and they're
right.
destroying it.
That's right. And on both sides, Democratic and Republican.
There aren't 5% of politicians in D.C. that are worth a damn. They all need to go, both sides.
So we've got to stop that, and that's why I'm running for U.S. Congress. I can't be bought.
And that's why we all need to stand up and say no.
Yep.
Everything stops tomorrow if every citizen in this country just stands up and doesn't say no, but hell no. We're
Yep.
not going to do it. If
Not
we all
gonna
stand
take it
together,
anymore.
it's
Yeah.
finished. It is over. The game is over.
On those lines, I would suggest on your organization that you interview every candidate that is running for Congress, and then if they don't sign on with freedom, then you come after them and you find out somebody will.
I completely agree with you. I think that's so important. Not just U.S. Freedom Flyers,
Oh yeah.
but every patriot organization out there. We need to put together a coalition
Yep.
that is a formidable force. We say if you don't meet our ideals, if you don't sign this contract that says that you're going to follow the U.S. Constitution and that you agree to recall, if you violate any one of these principles, you're out.
That's what Darren's doing.
That's what Darren's doing. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
also
exactly what Darren's doing.
and also two citizen moms out of North Carolina. They are looking to completely clean out the state legislature in North Carolina. It's amazing. You know, they started speaking in bars. In the beginning of 2020, these two women, these two moms, they have made a tremendous impact on the state of North Carolina. I love what they're doing. I've been to some of their events and spoke to some of the candidates, and it's incredible, the people that are stepping up. It's a grassroots movement that is bringing normal people in to put them into positions they never really wanted to fill, but they see a need, they believe in this country, and they're willing to stand up for freedom.
And by Darren, you're talking about restoreliberty.org, so that listeners restore liberty, restore-liberty.org. Some final comments. I mean, we've gotten. I think we've dug up a lot of interesting things for our listeners to think about and to act on. Rick, since you're part of this, we're going to have some closing comments. What are some final thoughts you want listeners to walk away with?
People need to stand up now, and actually, people need to stand up, and they need to find organizations like yours. If you can't stand up, you're not in a position. You live out in a country where you can't. But donate to them. Donate to candidates.
U.S. Freedom Flyers.
Yes.
And I didn't know that. So as somebody that flies all the time, I need to join. I need to pay.
You did. You've already given $100.
Well, okay, we've only given 100. That's not enough. No, but we can also join the organizations because you need us as passengers. We'll be your voice too.
That's correct. We need the passengers, and just as much as we need the money for the lawsuits, more importantly, we need your participation.
That's
Every time that you fly, stick your head in the flight deck, walk up to the pilots, and say, "I hope to God you're not vaccinated." Because do you know the side effects of this vaccination? Do you know that you're susceptible to blood clots, to cardiac arrest, to sudden death, to myocarditis, to pericarditis? If you care about the safety of the flight and your life, you should probably look at the side effects of an inoculation before you put it in your body. You know, it would be very telling if all of these people let's just say pilots, for instance, everyone who had gotten this inoculation would go to their doctor and get a D-dimer test, which tests for microclotting. I know of many cases now, actually, of pilots who have lost their medicals because their doctor gave them a D-dimer test. So before it became a monumental issue, they were discovering microclotting in their veins while it's still treatable at that level.
After they got vaccinated?
After they got vaccinated. I have quite a number of cases now in our database of people who have been grounded in various airlines. We represent like 26 airlines, so we're talking about a large pool of people. And as a matter of fact, just today, when I spoke on stage, I got off the stage. Before I could even get off the stage, there was a woman waiting for me. And she said, I think it was her brother-in-law. She said, my brother-in-law was a pilot for American Airlines, and he got the vaccine, and he had horrible heart complications. And so he goes to the doctor. He ended up with a triple bypass and 2 stents, lost his flight medical, will never fly again. That was an acute reaction. But what about things like microclotting that aren't maybe visible in the way you feel? But if you let microclotting go for a year, 2 years, 3 years, what are the long-term effects going to be? If you've been vaccinated and you're a pilot, if you're anyone who's been vaccinated, I would probably strongly suggest that you go get a D-dimer test at your doctor's office to make sure that you don't have a problem that's going to become a small problem now. It's going to become a very big problem.
And that's so interesting you say that, because people that have been vaccinated that are pro-vaccination say, I had one, I haven't had any side effects. They could very well be experiencing that very thing, and in a year or two, boom.
Correct. They could currently not be presenting symptoms.
Yeah.
This is Dr. McCullough speaks to this in depth. I mean, last night we were having a conversation with Dr. McCullough for probably an hour, and there was like Aaron Williams, all these different doctors were there, and they're all
Dr. Artis.
Dr. Artis. We were at Dr. Artis' house and had an amazing time. And they're saying that in their patients, they're giving them D-dimer tests, and they're finding in a very large percentage of them, they're finding microclotting.
Oh, so since you asked me to close, I said, again, that was www.usfreedomflyers.org. usfreedomflyers.org, and also look for your elected officials, candidates. In the case of Mary, it's Mary Todd for MT.com. Mary Todd for MT.com. But support your freedom fighters.
Mary, how about some final thoughts from you? What would you like listeners to walk away with?
Well, I'm just so honored to be here with Josh. Thank you so much for introducing us, and thank you for what you are doing. As a mother of a pilot for American Airlines, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate all the work you put into this, and I am going to become a member, and we're giving more than $100, so thank you so much, Josh.
No, thank you for your support, and Ian, thanks for the platform. It's really powerful. It's important that your listeners, understand all of these things. I think we've given them probably plenty of research. It'll probably take them 2 to 3 to 4 months to dig through all of this. But it's a good task. Lots of us are doing it. This is how we're waking up the public. This is how we're going to make a difference. Stand up and say, "Hell no, we're not taking it."
Is that your final word there, Josh?
That's all I have.
Repeat it one more time. Final word, ladies and gentlemen. Josh,
Hell no, we're not taking it anymore.
That was fun.